Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the CGS channel, where today we're back talking about Mario Kart. So today, as the title suggests, we are going to be looking at what Mario Kart World driver and vehicle combination is the best, not only overall, but also for you individually. But to work that out, we're going to need a table to show all of the stats. So here we are, and first things first, I will say Nintendo's done a pretty decent job of balancing in this game, as every single driver and kart, which we'll get onto later, has a total of 8 stat points across 4 different categories, which are speed, acceleration, weight and handling. Speed is by far the most important stat in Mario Kart World, as there are a lot of straightaways, particularly if you're playing the new Knockout Tour game mode. Handling and acceleration could be interchangeable in terms of importance, dependent on the mode that you're playing. If it's time trial, then handling will be infinitely more important. However, if you're playing Grand Prix or Knockout Tour, then acceleration is on par, maybe slightly more important. However, no matter what mode you're playing, weight will always be the least important. I must admit, going into this game, I thought weight would be one of the more important stats, especially now 24 races, but you just don't really get bumped around too much, at least compared to something like Mario Kart Wii, where if you're running anything but a heavyweight, you'll get sent halfway across the map. But anyway, let's get into the table that I've made, consisting of 8 different weight classes, the most in the series and one more than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which are Flightweight, Featherweight, Lightweight, Medium Lightweight, Middleweight, Medium Heavyweight, Heavyweight, and what I've called Bowserweight. Starting off with the lightest class type, with a weight stat of just 1, that is the Flyweight, consisting of 3 drivers being Baby Peach, Baby Daisy and Para Bidybug. As you can see, in this class, it has a very shockingly bad speed and weight of 1.4 and 1 respectively, that's why it's in red. However, to contradict that, we've got an acceleration of 3 and a handling of 2.6. Both are highest in the game, hence why it's in green. But as you can see, I've added on a 5th column of current world records, which Baby Daisy and Parabidybug both currently have one on what is the 11th of June today, so day 6 of Mario Kart World being out. But that is very respectable, 2/3 of the flyweights have a world record. Obviously the high acceleration, but mainly the high handling stat, really helped to get those 2 world records on what is tight, twisty and technical tracks. Next is the Featherweight, which unfortunately you should never use, as it is the worst class in the entire game. The only advantage it has over the flyweights is its weight stat, which as I mentioned before is not very important in this game, and that is represented by being the only class not to have a world record. So I'm really sorry to all the Dry Bones fans out there, and also to all 2 Baby Rosalina fans. Now we have a bit of an OG class type of the lightweights, currently holding 6 world records, which is very impressive. 1 with Toad, 2 with Toadette, and 3 with Nabbit. And I think the reason for that is it still has a very high handling and acceleration stats, so it's still mainly going to be used on the tight, twisty and technical tracks. However, the speed is slightly higher, as it's indicated by the orange tint. Our 4th of 8 class types is Medium Lightweight, which has a very strong lineup of drivers, being Peach, Daisy, Yoshi, Bowser Jr., Dolphin and Coin Coffer. We also have Monty Mole in there as well, but this is the first class that feels really balanced when you are driving it in game. It still has a slightly below average speed and weight stats, but a slightly above average acceleration and handling stat. It also holds 1 world record too with Bowser Jr. Next up is the complete middle of the road, average but balanced stats all around, and that is the middleweights. Again, only 1 world record, which is on Faraway Oasis, which by the way, very fun track to time trial. I spent 2.5 hours last night doing it to try and get a world record. Didn't quite get it in the end though. But I'm fairly confident we'll be seeing a couple more middleweight world records in the future, as the medium lightweight and possibly even a couple of the lightweight records improve with a higher skill gap and a slightly faster speed stat. Now we move on to the medium heavyweight, consisting of 6 characters, which are Rosalina, King Boo, Piranha Plant, Snowman, Cataquack and Conkdor. Definitely some interesting picks in this class, but overall it is the complete opposite to the medium lightweights, having a slightly higher speed and weight stat, but a slightly lower acceleration and handling stat to the average of the middleweights. And I can't believe the only world record in this class is from Snowman of all characters. The penultimate class is the heavyweights of Donkey Kong, Wario, Waluigi, Wiggler, wonder where I've heard that one before, Charging Chuck, Pianta and Cow, with a very respectable 7 world records and over half of them coming from Wario, which on the surface you may just think is a coincidence, or maybe Wario is slightly more popular than Waluigi or Wiggler or the likes of Charging Chuck too. However, there might be a more deeper reasoning to that through hidden stats. More about that later. And finally, we've got the Bowser weight, consisting of just Bowser, which has the best base speed and weight stats in the entire game, but to counteract it, has the worst handling and acceleration. The main problem with this class is the acceleration. It is shockingly bad. However, there is a way to combat this, which I explained in my last video, 50 plus best Mario Kart World tips and tricks, which you can watch by clicking this card just here on your screen now. But due to the immense speed, if you exclude the heavyweights, just Bowser by himself has more current world records than every other class combined of 12. And that is why speed is the most important stat in the game, which on paper makes Bowser the best character to play in Mario Kart World. But what is the best character class for you? Well, that is entirely dependent on your skill level. Unless you're one of the best players in the world, I would recommend not playing Bowser in Grand Prix, as although he may be the best on certain simple tracks and straightaways, he will be incredibly difficult to perform with. And if you're on a more tight, twisty and technical track, there is almost no hope for you to get a good placement, especially in online races. If you are a good player, above average, I would recommend medium heavyweight, as it still has a strong speed stat of 2.2 without sacrificing too much handling and acceleration. And on those more technical tracks, such as Shy Guy Bazaar, you'll still be able to compete. If you're average, try middleweight or even medium lightweight, and I'll say the same thing to everyone who doesn't know their skill level yet. Try one of those classes, and if you're comfortable and believe you can go a bit faster with a little more speed, go up a weight class, or if you're struggling, go down a weight class, and just kind of get a feel as what you like the best, but just make sure you avoid featherweight. Also, if you decide, for example, medium lightweight is the class for you, the best in Grand Prix and Knockout Tour will be the character with the smallest hitbox, which in this class is Coin Coffer. However, for time trials it is the complete opposite, as the best character will be the one with the largest hitbox, as it will be slightly easier to get onto grind rails due to there being a slightly larger area to stick onto, and here I think it will be Yoshi. But the difference it makes will be small, so if you just want to pick your favourite character within that class, that is completely understandable. And that also means Monty Mole will have a 0% usage rate, because who on earth mains Monty Mole? Please, let me know in the comments if you do, because I'm pretty sure you don't exist. Now we move on to karts, and there's only 7 weight classes, as we don't have any flyweight karts or bikes, and as you can see, this graph is a little more complicated and less linear. In each weight class, we have multiple different types of vehicles with multiple different stats. For example, just in the featherweights, we have 3 different speed stats ranging from 1.2 to 1.6, and the same also goes to acceleration ranging from 2.6 to 3. The lowest speed kart / bike to have a world record is the Mock Rocket, for its top class handling and not horrendous speed. 3 of its 4 world records are in combination with either flyweight or lightweight drivers, which are on the more technical tracks such as Great Question Mark Block Ruins. However, I do see a future where the Mock Rocket has less world records, as I think part of the reason it has got so much love within the first week of the game is because it's based on the second best vehicle from Mario Kart Wii, the Mock Bike. Now we move on to the lightweights, which consist of the Pipe Frame Biddy Buggy, or in the UK English version it is called the Buggy Bud, Baby Blooper and Locomoto, which is a bike. But as you can see, the standout vehicle is the Baby Blooper with 5 world records, and I think the reason for that is because it has slightly above handling whilst also having still decent speed, and the weakest of the Baby Blooper stats, as indicated by the slightly darker red, is its weight stats. There is only 3 medium lightweight vehicles, with both of the class world records going to the W Twin Chopper for having the high speed stat of 2.4. Moving on to the biggest vehicle class type of the middleweights, consisting of 12 different karts, and it also holds the majority of the game's current world records. But obviously the standout vehicle in this class is the Real Racer, having over a third of the total world records, and just based on these stats you can clearly see why. It has average weight and handling, but slightly below average acceleration, which in time trials, where the world records are set, doesn't really matter, as the number 1 stat is that 2.6 speed, the second highest for a vehicle in the entire game. Now we have 2 hybrid vehicles in the medium heavyweight class, being the Funky Dory and Junkyard Hog, and surprisingly it has a really bad handling stat, worse than every single heavyweight, despite having a lower weight stat too, which just makes the medium heavyweights pretty irrelevant, to be honest. Penultimately we have the heavyweights. By the way, if you're from the UK and you don't know what the Tiny Titan is, that is the Rally Romper. I just don't know why some vehicles and karts change names between regions, but the standout vehicle in this class to me is the Stellar Sled. Although it only has one current world record, I can see that number increasing in the future as it has the highest speed stat of 2.8 in the entire game, characters included, although it does have the lowest acceleration of 1.2, which is horribly bad. And finally, the Bowser weight equivalent vehicles of the Rallygator and Lobster Roller have no world records, and I'm pretty sure it will stay that way as their main stat is the one that is the least important, being a weight of 2.6, which is good, but unlike Bowser himself, the speed stat is not quite the best, making the likes of the Real Racer and Stellar Sled just better. But there is one question that remains. Why does the B-Dasher, Hot Rod and Royal Racer all have world records, but the rest of the middleweight karts and bikes with the same stats not have any? Or why does Wario have 4 world records, but his cousin Waluigi with the same stats have none? Is it because of Wario's dumpy, or are there hidden stats? No one has access to the hidden stats yet, as the game will need to be data mined, and you almost never see a game data mined within the first couple weeks of release like it is in now, so I decided to take on the challenge myself. I got 4 different characters, followed by 4 different karts, and put them up against 4 different challenges: top speed, air speed, water speed, and off-road speed. The 4 characters I chose were Mario, Pauline, Penguin, and Pokey, as I think they are all quite different characteristically within the same middleweight class, and I applied the same logic to the middleweight karts of the Rally Kart, B-Dasher, Carpet Flyer, and Cloud9. Now, let's see the results. First, we have to get a character side by side of top speed, and as we can see, there is a difference, confirming there are hidden stats within Mario Kart World. Pauline was quickest, ahead of Mario, Penguin, and Pokey in last. Next up was the glider challenge, where I went off this grind rail to make sure the angle was the exact same, started the timer the frame the glider started coming out, and stopped it when the kart first made contact with the ground. And as you can see, Pauline and Penguin came joint first, 900ths of a second ahead of Mario and Pokey once again in last. Third was the water speed test, and I reversed from the start line to make sure there's no angle difference before starting the timer the frame this pole was out of shot. At that point, the characters were up to full speed, before stopping the timer once the front of the kart had fully crossed the finish line. I was convinced this would be a Penguin win here, but instead it timed with Mario and Pokey, with Pauline a full 10th and a quarter behind. The final test was the off-road speed. To make sure there's no steering variables, I drove forward to go out of bounds twice before being positioned here, where I'll drive straight, starting the timer in the off-road until Lakitu appears on the screen to pick me up. This had the exact same result as the last test, with Pauline finishing in last and the other 3 drivers tying for first. I followed all of this up by conducting the same experiment with the 4 chosen karts, starting with the top speed test, and unsurprisingly, the B-Dasher won by quite a lot to the Carpet Flyer and Cloud9, with the Rally Kart just a couple frames behind. The glider test again fittingly had the Carpet Flyer winning, just ahead of the B-Dasher, whilst the Rally Kart and Cloud9 tied for last. The water speed proved to be a lot closer than the drivers, having the Cloud9 edging out the Carpet Flyer and Rally Kart, with the B-Dasher the only one to not be in the sub 5 seconds. And my final test for the off-road speed had a very similar result, having 3 timed for first, which in this case was the Rally Kart, B-Dasher and Carpet Flyer, with surprisingly the Cloud9 just 1 frame behind, although there is a chance that could be human error. Also, just for clarification, I was going to test the grind rail speed, but every single character, no matter the class, has the same speed on them. The main thing I've realised after getting those results is that the speed stat means total speed. For example, Dolphin on the standard kart has a total of 2, but that could be an average from 1.4 top speed, 2.4 air speed, 2.2 water speed, and 2 off-road speed, for example. Honestly, don't know why we can't just access these stats, as it makes the task of finding out which driver and vehicle combination is the best for each track so much harder. So, thanks Nintendo. But overall, I think the meta could change once we find out more about the hidden stats. That will obviously help, but also as people get better. Currently, a fair few world records are through high handling combos such as Nabbit and the Baby Blooper, but I predict that would change over time to a slightly higher speed combo, as that has more potential but also a higher skill gap. Are we going to be one day seeing all 30 tracks taken by Bowser Real Racer or Bowser Stellar Sled? No, absolutely not, as some tracks are just not possible to optimise with those combos. So over the next few years, it'll be about trying to find a combo with the high speed that is also able to pull off all the techie shortcuts, and that balance will likely differ with most tracks, which makes the future of Mario Kart World really exciting. But thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you did learn something new today, make sure to give the video a like and subscribe if you want to see more Mario Kart World content on the channel. I'm currently in Cyprus, so I'm probably enjoying my time away, but there will still be a video out next week. And in the meantime, good night.